Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We're super excited that you can join us. We have a full agenda of really exciting topic to share with you. Today's topic is all around the knowledge base, and we thought it would be perfect for us to invite our very own expert who manages our Desk.com knowledge base and self-service strategy to talk a little bit about the things that he did when he was building and optimizing and scaling the Desk.com knowledge base. And what we have at the end is a demo to show you some of the tips and tricks that you can apply when you're in the Desk.com interface to make your lives easier when it comes to managing your self-service. And we want to make this as interactive as possible. I know this is a webinar and it's very hard for you to completely interact with us, but we have several mechanisms for you to connect with us. The first one is make sure you connect with us on Twitter. If you have any questions, you can ask us on there. There's also a channel or a question at the right-hand corner of your GoToWebinar panel. You can also enter your questions in there. I know some of you have already been doing that, so keep those questions coming. What we'll do is really alter the questions during the webinar and make sure that we're getting through the content that is the most useful to you. So as we're going through the content, if there are some things that you want us to talk more about, something that you want us to talk less about, we'll make sure we adjust the content based on your needs. So I talked a little bit about how to answer questions. We also have a live Q&A at the end of the show. Today's program will last for 40 minutes total. We have 30 minutes of content prepared for you with an exciting demo. And after that, we have 10 minutes allocated at the end for a live Q&A. And if you can't stay with us today, that's completely okay. This webinar will be recorded, and we'll be sharing this with you after the program. We'll send you an email tomorrow with a link to the webinar. If you really need it today, we'll also post it on the YouTube channel. So go to our YouTube channel and check it out at the end of the day if you want the recording today. So without further ado, let's do a little bit of introduction. My name is Kira Cho, and I'm part of the product marketing team. Next to me, I have David Nunez, who, like I said before, is our technical writer at Desk, and he manages all of our self-service experience. So he's really the expert here, and I'm so excited that I get to pick his brain. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Kira. Like Kira said, I'm the technical writer here at Desk, and I use only our own product to do all of our documentation. And I have experience exclusively with small teams creating documentation. So I'm going to try and speak about that experience, having minimal resources and using Desk to lay the foundation for a world-class knowledge base.
Perfect. So good to have you here. Welcome again, David.
Thanks, Kira.
So just want to level set a little bit on why self-service is really important. Maybe it goes without saying that as customers, we really hate to pick up the phone every time when we have a question. I'm a pretty stubborn person, so I really like to try figuring out the answer to some of my questions on my own. And it's not until when I can't find the answer on my own, that's when I want to talk to someone live. This is similar to the self-checkout concept at the grocery store. It's not that I never want to have a live interaction with a person and having a live person checking my grocery out at the store, but sometimes when I know what I need to buy and I just have a few items, I feel like I'm a much happier person and it's a much better experience if I just go through the self-service line. This is the same concept with self-service for your business. And self-service isn't really just your help center. It's basically all the content that you make available to your customers when they're having issues and problems and they need to figure out answers on their own. And really, what you're doing is allowing them to self-service. And on the back end, what it means is that you can hire less folks on your support team, less agents for you to help your customers because they're helping themselves. And internally for an agent, it's really important and crucial for you to have a knowledge base full of information, great articles on how-tos, references, and guides so that your agents, every time when they're helping their customers, the answers back to the customers can be very consistent and concise and always accurate. So we're going to go through a few methods to show you some of the things that we use to convey a solution to a problem on our help center. So the first one here is a frequently asked question article. There are a lot of the times where our customers will encounter the same problems over and over again. So password reset is something that comes up a lot. Or when our customers are onboarding, they really need that extra hand-holding for documentation on how to set up the account. So David, can you tell us a little bit about what frequently asked questions are and how can we source them? How can we make sure that we create this content on the help center to help our customers?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to do when I first started is create a FAQ section because that's your first line of defense for documentation, and they're really easy to create. Stuff like what Kira said, the reset password, you don't need a long document for that. And if customers overlooked your reset password link in your software, then a nice little FAQ will help them prevent calling your agents to ask for help with that.
What about how-to videos and demos, short clips of how do you perform a certain action or how does a functionality work? When do we use videos and visuals to represent that?
We've started using videos a lot lately because every time we'd come out with them, customers love them. Also internally too, you get a lot of great feedback from sales and marketing about how they can become quickly up to speed with your product from videos. So there's a difference between how-tos and demos. How-tos are typically if you find yourself having a long guide on how to set something up, customers don't really want to read through all that. So having a nice step-by-step video broken down into modules is a lot more helpful. And demos, if anybody's used our Business Insights product before, it's very UI heavy, a lot of point and click and drag and drop. So you can't really do that justice with an article. It helps to show that in a video. So customers, before they embark on setting that up, it's helpful to see that in action.
Nice. So just to recap, I think demos are very good for you to introduce different functionalities that are within your product and really showing the value of how to use things. And how-to, it's just more instructional.
Right.
What about manuals and best practices, things that are more step-by-step tutorial? When do we use a document versus a video?
Yeah, a lot of times. So these are just one of these is not better than the other, but it's great to provide customers with a variety of options because certain customers want to learn differently than others. And a lot of times there's a certain type of self-help that is more fitting depending on the feature. So with best practices, that's typically use case heavy. So, for example, we have setup guides on how to set up for single teams and multiple teams. There's no one way to do it, but we try and talk about how we do it and how we see customers do it. So the best practices guides are a mix of different features at once, mixed into an end goal. Step-by-step tutorials are things like adding a phone integration, which are very specific. So you want to make sure you're capturing everything. And it's good to just have a mix of all those depending on the feature.
Nice. What about the public help center? So this would be the FAQ part of your website. It's the help pages that are part of your web experience. I know we have one of those. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and that's the main benefit that Desk offers. Everybody who has that's a Desk customer has access to their own help center. So we encourage everybody to take advantage of that. The main benefit, it seems minimal, but the main benefit of going from sending out PDFs or instructions in an email to a public help center is now that's all searchable. It's available 24/7. The answers are consistent, and it can change frequently as your features do. So you can keep it up to date. Customers can search and help themselves. And that's also building your brand because all this is available in results when customers are searching in search engines. And your knowledge articles are filled with the keywords that they're looking for that you want to create leads from. So that's the main benefit of having it public. And we also have private portals too, if that's what you're looking for. If you have more sensitive documentation, you can give your customers a login and they can view that content privately.
Yeah, none of these are new concepts. They're pretty self-explanatory. What's great about having that public help center is that the content will always be live. It's not static. And so if you have different things that are rolling out, you can always version it and immediately publish a new version.
Correct. And another great thing is that we're not charging you for infrastructure. So you're getting this out of the box and it's tightly integrated with your agent console. And it's just, it's a really awesome benefit that I was surprised when I started, because in the past we had small budget small budget teams with minimal resources, and we were spending up to $20,000 a year for our help center site.
How many people are contributing to content here at Desk?
I'd say dozens. Everybody can contribute easily because it's a switch you can flip in your admin to give somebody access. And the flow we like to do now is people will create drafts in the admin and then have me look at them, and then we'll publish them to the support center. So everybody can contribute, and it's nice to be able to blend those permissions between agents and content creators.
Nice. What about your customers? What if you have very avid customers that love your product? Can we make them an author? Can they contribute to the content?
Yeah, they can. We can do any of that. So our options are endless.
So what we wanted to show you are examples of live help centers that are built with Desk.com. So the first one is Pandora. I love showing this example because Pandora does a really good job of categorizing their frequently asked questions. Next is BarkBox. The brand voice is very important for BarkBox, and as you can see, they're playing wordsmith here a little bit. Instead of frequently asked questions, they made it very unique to the brand voice, and they changed that to frequently asked questions. And I feel like this is becoming kind of that extension of your brand. So it's great to have that continuing that brand voice across all the different properties that you have on the web. Multi-brand is another popular feature that our customers use. So for Zepp here, for example, they've got different brands underneath their umbrella. So this is a great way for them to organize the self-service experience based on what types of products that the customer is using. So we've talked a lot about the benefits of having a self-service and how it will empower your customers and give your agents some time back. Let's go to the fun part and go through some of the questions that you should be asking yourself as a business. We came up with a list of questions that we internally asked ourselves before we built this robust self-service experience. And we feel like regardless of what industry you're in and what stage your company is in, these are some of the questions that you should ask yourself before building a help center. So the first one is, you might not need a help center today. Let's say your customer base is still fairly small and you can handle all of your customer requests. But what about tomorrow, thinking about scaling your business?
Yeah, I'm obviously a champion of documentation. I think you always could use a help center, especially if you're getting one out of the box with Desk. So I think it's important to start from the beginning because in the past, the situations I've come into, documentation is an afterthought. So I'm coming in the late stages with a company that maybe has been around for a couple of years, and that may not seem like a long time, but all that information that has been given from agents to customers is not captured. And meanwhile, you could have been writing and documenting all that information down and having customers support themselves. And when you get to that point and you're growing 2, 3, 10 years down the line, you're creating that documentation incrementally instead of all at once. So you have that good foundation. And it doesn't take very long to just say, I'm getting a lot of questions, a lot of the same questions from customers. Let me just start documenting that. And then that FAQ can eventually turn into a guide or turn into a video as your product grows.
So we actually have a few questions. Let's back up a little bit and talk a little bit about the difference between the knowledge base and the support center.
So the knowledge base, they're very similar, but the knowledge base is just the content itself. So you'll refer to a knowledge base as just the documentation, just the words, the articles. The support center is the overall, like if you look at our support center and what we offer, The support center would be the actual website. So it has a knowledge base within it, which is the content. You also have videos, and you also have ways to contact support through the support center. So if any of you are familiar with that email form, the contact us form, it's just another way to think of your knowledge base is more of a self-service solution. So that's what your support center is.
Perfect. So the next question is, what do you want your customers to do on this support center? These are more customer-centric questions. Can you walk us through what your thinking was when you were building our self-service experience and what you want our Desk.com customers to do on our site?
Yeah, so first of all, you want customers to find what they're looking for easily, and we're still working on that. That's an endless goal. But you want to make sure that you're not bogging down your customers. So you try and predict, and it's helpful to go through your product yourself as a user. So you want to predict where customers are having issues and make sure that everything is as clear as possible and concise. So it's more of a reference as opposed to a learning experience, and customers aren't needing to study your documentation and struggle to understand it. But it's more of, I couldn't figure this out quickly enough in your product, so now I'm just going to go quickly search on your support center and reference it. So my goal is to make the documentation as succinct as possible. And a lot of times that's harder to do than writing a long guide because you're just doing a brain dump. It's hard to pare that all down to the essentials.
And you talked a little bit about people stumbling upon our Help Center page. Are you finding that there's organic traffic coming in from the Google searches and the Yahoo searches?
Definitely, because we have hundreds of articles, so all that content is linking back and being linked from our marketing site. So marketing site is great, but the keywords are generally going to be different. It's going to be around the selling point of your product, and that's going to be a lot different than you're actually getting into what your product actually does. So you're doubling the amount of keywords and the amount of exposure you're getting when people are searching for self-help solutions in our case, or customer support software. So if they're searching for more specific terms of how to do a specific task, then generally you're going to have articles show up in the search result as opposed to a marketing piece of content.
So let's say now that we've built our knowledge base, we've optimized it with the right content, the next step is really about evaluating how effective our content is. So what are some of the mechanisms that you use to measure the effectiveness of our article and content?
Well, when I started, we were using our own out-of-the-box solution, which is a thumbs up, thumbs down type of rating system. And that's great. We only had a couple hundred articles at the time, so it was really helpful to go through all the articles and see how that one's performing. We expose when you go into the admin for each article, you can see the metrics based off of that rating system. So you can see the percentage of thumbs up versus thumbs down. You can also see how often that article has been applied to cases from your agents. And so that's helpful, but we took it to the next step, and we actually have an integration with Get Feedback. So we implemented, if you've been to our Sports Center, you'll see that survey at the bottom where we can actually ask questions and have a dynamic where if customers respond a certain way, then we can ask them why they responded. And we check that every day. And it's great because I'm the only one that's writing the content on a day-to-day basis. So if I'm wondering where to focus my attention on our big knowledge base, I can just go to the Get Feedback results, see what customers are saying, and a lot of times they'll say, this link is dead or this video is not working, and that's extremely helpful because that's a quick fix that I wouldn't have been able to see on my own.
Do you ever get feedback from customers on, let's say, like bugs or things that we released, and you take that insight back to either a product team or an engineering team?
Yeah, definitely, because obviously as your customers are using your documentation, they're using your product. So it's another forum for customers to give that feedback, or maybe they don't even know they ran into a bug. They're just saying this isn't working, and then you can go to that article and test the product yourself, test that feature yourself, see it's not working, and log a bug. A lot of times I'll give product feedback based off of, I think the article is clear enough of what steps you need to perform, and customers are still struggling. So that's good data to bring back to your product team and say, the experience within the product is not ideal because they have the documentation, they have the feature, and that's still not enough.
All right, so thank you so much for going through all these questions. Now, I've been waiting for this part. I want to see demo. I want to see everything that's in the app and see it live in action. So, David, walk us through what you're going to show us today and take it away.
So I just prepared a 4-minute demo. I took a video so I can pause and go in depth a little more. But basically, I wanted to show in 4 minutes what our product can do. And in my test site, everything is it's not customized, so this is stuff you can do as well. And so I'm just going to show a sample scenario that's very common, customers having an issue that as the user, you see that customers have this issue often. So you're going to create an article, and you're going to have your agents use that article in response. Okay. So here we are in the desk admin. So the scenario is a customer was having the issue of not knowing how to set their profile picture using your product. So that's a very simple solution in this scenario. We use Gravatar, so we just want the customer to know, okay, go to Gravatar. If you set it there, it'll appear automatically in your profile picture. So what we're going to do as the content creator, we're going to go to the admin and we're going to create an article. And here's the topic, and the topic is where the article will appear in the support center. So in this instance, it's a very simple answer, so we're just going to create an FAQ. And here we have the text box. So I'm going to write the content here. This is our editor if you haven't seen it. It's very simple by design. You can write in plain text, or you also have access to the source where you can manipulate the HTML if you want to customize the text. And as you can see, it's very easy to just display this article. So you would just click show in support center and it's live. So here we just added a link. We're going to add an image. We also have, let me pause it for a second. So you can easily just upload images. And we also have an image server, if you saw before, where you can reuse images. So you have your own little image library, which is awesome. So we're going to upload, so here you can see that browse server where you can view all the images you've ever uploaded with Desk and reuse them. So here we're going to save it and show in Support Center. So within seconds, that article is live and customers can navigate there. It's now searchable. And another helpful thing is you can create different versions of this article. So you can have Twitter and Facebook versions. So when you respond to a Twitter case and you want to append this article, it's going to automatically display the Twitter version, which is awesome. And in that case, you're keeping it to 140 characters or less, obviously. And here's the search keywords part. So this is helpful when you can add metadata to your article and help with the search results. So we're trying to guess what customers are going to search for when they're looking for this, and put them in that search keywords box.
Well, actually, a question came up during the webinar. The question is, how do you hide KB articles from search engines? So if you don't put metadata keywords in here, will that prevent the search engines from picking the article up?
No, you can do you can just do don't show in Support Center. Another helpful one is you can hide it. You can hide the topic that it's under, and that won't show up in your site, but it may show up in support engine results. But if you want to create private content, then it's helpful to utilize our private portal feature. All right. So what we're going to do next is, also you have your different languages that you can add. So as you can see there, I have 4 languages enabled. Kira, do you know how many languages we support? I think it's 50. Yeah. So all you have to do is go enable that language in your admin, and that'll show there. For this scenario, I had 5. And so I chose a Spanish translation. And here you can edit it and write in Spanish and maintain different versions. So when your customers go into your support site, they can decide what language they want to see, which is also out of the box. And that version of the article will show up.
Yeah, and we also have partners where they can help you translate articles as
Mm-hmm.
well. So Verbalize It is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Google Translator can be wonky a little sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Verbalize It, because a lot of customers ask us about that service, having the
Mm-hmm.
translation for articles. So I
Okay.
want to address that.
Yeah, all the infrastructure is there to support that, so it's awesome. So now what we're going to do is create a macro. So for those of you that aren't familiar with macros, it's to be able to create uh, a workflow where all the actions, multiple actions are taken at once with a single click. So here we're going to create a macro. So what you're trying to do is predict common scenarios. So say a customer asks a question where the answer is very straightforward. How do I reset my password? You can create a macro where you automatically fill in the text. Hi, this is how you reset your password. Automatically insert a link to an article or append the content from the article, and then change the priority to low, change the status to closed, and now all the agent had to do to fix that solution is click one button in selecting that password reset macro. So in this instance, we're gonna create a macro based off of this article for this scenario of how do people add a profile picture. So this is the interface. I'm going to create a label. Labels are useful for tracking and reporting. So I'm going to create a Gravatar label. And again, this is where the product feedback comes into play. So if we're seeing that a lot of people are having issues with setting a profile picture, then maybe we want to make it easier. We want to allow them to just upload it from our interface, or we want to put some text in the product that go to Gravatar. So we can even eliminate the need for customers to have to go create that macro and send that macro. So now we're going to add the quick reply, and this is going to make it seem more personal, like the agent is actually responding instead of just clicking a button, which is nice. And you can see all the other things that you can do on a case are available. So in this case, where it's just going to be a very simple one. So now I'm going to append the article that we just created, and I'm going to enable it so it's available in the agent console.
It's like magic. That's so easy. I never knew about this functionality.
And so now I'm simulating the experience from the user end. So this user is going to come to my support center and click on the email us form and type their issue here. So this form is very helpful to have within your support center, because if customers go to try and find an answer in an article and they don't find it, they don't have to go search for how to contact you. They can, or fire up their email. They can just go directly from the page they're on and click email us, fill out their form that way. And this is highly customizable, so you can have stuff like drop downs, custom fields, and make it more specific to your business. And this is another cool feature too, that as customers, so what you're trying to do is save time for your agents, especially for instances like this where it's a very straightforward answer. So this is another awesome feature that we offer, where we're actually doing a search based off of the content that the customer put into the email form. And we're doing a search across our knowledge base and asking if these articles that are relevant, in case they didn't do the search themselves, would help them with their issue. And in this case, it would. The article we created popped up. But let's pretend like it didn't, and they'll send the email so we can show the agent experience. Oh, and one other thing too, it's nice when users search, we'll automatically show the results there, so they don't have to filter through the results, but it'll show in a drop down. So in this case, again, it would work, but let's pretend it didn't. So pretty soon here, we're going to go to the agent console, and we're going to click on the case. You can see how do I set a profile picture came in, and so here the agent opens the case for the first time. None of the fields are set. They're going to go to that macro. We also have a cool shortcut. If you click pound and you know the name of the macro, you can have the macro come into the case that way. But here you can search for your macros in folders, and they're nicely organized. So I'm going to select that macro. It's going to fill that text that I created earlier. It's going to add the link to the article. and it's going to add the label Gravatar, and now all the agent has to do is send and resolve. So that's a good way for using your knowledge base to solve a customer issue easily. And another cool thing too, you can see this knowledge base icon under the left corner of the text box, where you can actually search your knowledge base straight from the agent console. And that's also very helpful. So that's another way on the fly agents can respond to the customer with an article without leaving the agent console. And that is it for the demo.
Nice. That was very, very useful. I hope you guys learned something new and picked up some tips and tricks from David, because he is our expert here. Thank you everyone so much for joining today. We always want to hear from you. I know you guys have a lot of great ideas, and really without our customers' feedback, we can't continue to innovate the product. We want to build something that you guys love. So if you have any suggestions or ideas on how we can add different features and new functionalities to the Desk.com app, but this is even outside of the knowledge base functionality, feel free to reach out to us at support@desk.com. We want to hear it all. So let's get to the live Q&A portion. There is actually a lot of questions. So I'm going to try to categorize some of the top questions that you have all asked. So the first one here is about having different access levels for different folks that are visiting your help center. So for example, your customers versus your prospects or your partners. Do we have private portals that can separate what people can see?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier we do offer that private portal option. And if you want to search our support center actually for private portal, or reach out to support@desk.com if you're having trouble setting up your own private portal, it is an awesome feature where you can actually supply your customers with a login. And not only can they view the content that's private to them, but they can also view the cases within that private portal that they have outstanding or that they've sent to you that are in the agent console. So it's a nicely integrated feature if you want to keep that content private. And you can also have a public and a private portal at the same time, so you can blend that accordingly.
Nice. What about customization of the knowledge base? So we showed 3 examples: Pandora, Markbox, and the multi-brand Zep. Are those out-of-the-box templates, or?
So what I showed you in my demo was out of the box and very simple. We're not trying to guess what you're looking for, but if any of you are familiar with the templates, we have a new V5 template that is really nice, that's responsive. That wasn't what I was using, but anybody can use that today. And
and responsive means it works on a mobile device or any device.
Correct, yeah. And what those customers did, so we also give you the ability to customize it yourself. So if you're a web developer, you can go in and have access to the CSS and the HTML. If you're not, we expose some common elements that are very simple, like uploading a logo that'll show in the header, changing your header text, changing the color scheme. And if that's not enough, you don't have a full-time web developer, we do our awesome WOW professional services team does packages like this every day, all day. So they can easily, you can show them the styles, give them the styles that you have for, say, your marketing site, and they can adapt that to your support center. So that's another option if you want to contact support@desk.com. We offer those packages.
And what about versioning for your help articles? I know in software things change rapidly, so how do we manage that?
So we actually don't have a versioning feature yet. But what I do, when you have a smaller knowledge base, it's easier to keep track of. We have an internal note system that makes it easy, so I use that often. So I'll tell myself that something needs to be done on a certain day if I know a feature is going to be created. So that's helpful for me right now.
Let's talk a little bit about internal collaboration. Can you tell us how we internally inform agents of new articles that come up? How do we collaborate and make sure everyone's on the same page?
So the draft feature is very helpful, keeping the articles private, and you can choose not to show in Support Center, but the page will still be live. You just need the URL to navigate there. So that's really helpful to be able to share that way. And anybody who goes into the admin will see that little eye icon if the article's hidden. So it's really easy to decipher which ones are private and which ones are public. So that's how we use our Support Center to share articles and get feedback.
Let's talk a little bit about organizing types of contents on your help center. Is there a way to create subcategories for articles? For example, onboarding would be the topic, and then underneath onboarding would be different ways to help you set up your account.
Not yet, but that's something that I was pushing for. What we're trying to do is make it as easy as possible, and I know that's very common to have that parent-child hierarchy, and that's what I was used to. So I'm pushing for that, and I think you guys will be really excited about what's to come with the knowledge base, because we're now going to get into more advanced workflows to also keep that ease of use, because we're very protective of that ease of use and quick, the way you can get articles published quickly. But we are aware, and we are working on that.
We have a few questions around macros. So the first one is, when you append a macro back to the response to the customer, can you include graphics and pictures in there? Will it populate?
I don't think you can, but test it. I don't think there's an attach file type of macro. But again, if you have a specific use case, search our portal, obviously, but also contact support@desk.com, and they will be able to answer that question easily. And if not, they're very good about creating feature requests, so that's a good piece of feedback if we don't offer it already, obviously.
What about having a placeholder in macros that automatically fill in the customer's name or any other data that you need it to?
A placeholder. So I'm not sure. So I think that means using Liquid to have variables, maybe to say.
Correct. It's almost like mail merge back in the day, where it would be dynamic depending on like what the first name is of the customer. Maybe there are certain greetings that you want to change every time.
I think you can. I think you can use Liquid in a quick reply. If not, there are other features that offer that. So maybe if you can give us your email address for whoever asked that question, we can get back to you with a more specific answer. I'm just worried about giving the incorrect answer, but I know that we do offer functionality around that.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point. We're getting an overwhelming amount of questions, and we only have about 2 minutes left. We'll make sure we route the questions to the right support agent or to the product team, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible after we do some research and sorting of your questions. So if we don't get to your questions right now, don't worry, we'll get back to you. How about adding tweets to your support center? I actually saw that in your demo. How do we do that?
That is very simple to do. If you search for add a Twitter feed to your support center, we show all the steps. We create an article where we show all the steps to add the Twitter feed. And that is really cool because you specify what you want your Twitter feed to search for. So in that case, I included whenever a mention is made at this about this handle. So in a customer case, if you want to monitor your own Twitter handle or maybe what customers are saying about you, you can embed that right in your support center. So there's an article on that. You can search, I think it's add a Twitter feed to your support center, and we show all the steps in Desk and in Twitter that you need to do, and you can get that up and running in a few minutes.
What about the rating system? Can you walk us through again on how we embed it? A lot of folks are having questions around that.
Okay. So I believe our article thumbs up, thumbs down is out of the box. And actually, I'm certain that it is. And so, but for our Get Feedback surveys, if you search Get Feedback's documentation, actually, I think they're in our App Hub, in our integrations tab. But if you go search for Get Feedback, and it's GETFEEDBACK, all one word, they have an article that I use to set up that with our support center. So they talk about using Get Feedback in Desk, and it's really easy to do. I did that with a little help from our WOW team. very easily. And so yeah, go check out that article. They wrote a great article using Desk.com's editor. So
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today at this webinar. Let us know if there are other topics that you'd like to hear about in future webinars. I know this was actually a very hot topic. A lot of customers sign up for the knowledge base. So if there are anything that you want to hear, let me know. My email is kcho@salesforce.com. And I also want to give a personal thank you to David for preparing the demo and just being a rock star here today. I hope you all learned something from him. You guys can also reach out to him if you have any questions. What is your email again, David?
that is dnunez@salesforce.com. So D is in David, NUNEZ@salesforce.com.
And when in doubt, if you ever have questions, feel free to send those over to support@desk.com. And lastly, this webinar was recorded, so we'll be sure to get you a copy after the program, and this will also be posted via our social channels for easy access. Thank you, everyone, for your time today, and look forward to